going on. And the riots are nothing new. America, if you remember back to the Boston Tea Party, that's when we were looting and damaging property back then, throwing the tea out and things. So the concept hasn't changed. But what is happening is that all of a sudden the media is catching it, and we're beginning to see that something needs to be done because something is not working here. Okay? There is police brutality that is taking place. I came home to watch. I didn't see this, but I sure read about, people with their very own eyes watched African American killed at the hands or the knee of a white police officer, of someone who has been handcuffed. There are things that are going on that are not acceptable. There's fires in the cities. There are people starving. There's a crazy unemployment. There is no wonder that this pent-up energy has exploded. And so what is necessary is for us to go beyond this moment. And they say, but Christian, this is the truth of what's going on. It is not the truth. It is the facts of what's taking place there. But I'll tell you what, the truth is love. The truth is love, and the love will never go away because God is love. Love will always be greater than hate. What happens is that we need to step into this situation and bring the love and bring the higher perspective and recognize that if there is injustice, it needs to be spoken because there is love, there is compassion that is higher than that. Martin Luther King said that injustice anywhere threatens justice everywhere. And he goes on to say that if you're going to pursue justice, remember to practice discipline and dignity. Be moved by that, and that your only weapon is love, and never fall prey or never succumb to hating another person. Okay? Never succumb to hating another person. Do not be so low. That's what words he said that I was looking for. Never go so low as to hating another person. And so in these times, we are being called to do our spiritual practices. And that's what Michael Singer talks about in his book, The Untethered Soul. He is always saying, use what is going on as your spiritual practice. What's going on is what's taking place in the world. And you probably can't do much to change what's going on. I mean, if you're moved to march, then march. If you're moved to stay home, to be safe, do that. If you're moved to pray. But, you're not going to change the hurricanes. You're not going to necessarily change what is going on. But you can learn to accept that. But where you have total power, because you may not have the power to change the outside, is that you have total control of what's going on inside of you. And what we do not want to do is allow what's going on out there to be going on inside of us. We do not want the hatred. We do not want the anger. What we want is to be able to come from love, because what this world needs is us to come from a higher place. You want to go beyond what is going on, then you've got to come from that place that does not need to be affected by what's going on in the world. It is when you're able to remain calm, when you're able to remain clear, when you're able to remain at peace, then you're able to deal with what's going on out in the world from a clearer place, a healthier place. You can be your best in this world with what is going on, and this world needs your best now more than ever before. Times like this try man's souls. You know who said that? It's times like this that try men's souls. Thomas Paine, in the midst of another revolution, who was saying injustice doesn't work. And so people saying, hey, I want to sit down at the table. Bring up a folding chair and sit down. But I'll tell you, the challenge is not a chair at the table. The challenge is we need a new table. We need a new table that has justice, that has openness, that has freedom of expression. What we need is a new place that is free from racism, that is free from the white privilege, that is free from misogyny, that is free from hatred, that is free from violence. What we need is a world where there's calm, there is compassion, where there is love, where there is understanding. And as we begin to speak that, people may begin to say, what, you crazy? How is that possible that is going on? Well, what it takes is individuals able to see the dream of what is possible. Because where there is hatred It is time to turn it around and to bring love that is there. And in our spiritual practices, if we allow our inside to be beyond what is taking place in this world, but is coming from that higher place, we can begin to bring that. You boiled water, right? I'm sure you've boiled water in your time. But you also know that boiling water can freeze into ice. It's a pretty crazy realization when it's boiling, but you know it can do that. Well, in the midst of what's going on, it takes your inner clarity and calm and peace to go beyond and know that love is the answer. Ernest Holmes says to practice love and it will change the history of your past, because love brings forgiveness, it brings understanding, it brings perfect healing. We must be the ones to bring that. Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. See, these are almost contrary thoughts, but it's a new way of seeing. That's how you go beyond, is you don't allow what's going on out there to affect your inner place. You want to bring the peace, you want to bring the love, you want to see with a new kind of eyes. Marcel Proust, a French novelist, said to discover new lands or to make new discoveries in your journey. He talked about in the discovery of new lands, you need not go to new places, but what you want to have are new eyes. That's not quite how he said it, but it's close. It's about new eyes, not having to go to a new place. It's about having the dream of something greater. It's in the midst of the boiling water to know that it could become frozen. It's in the midst of the pandemic that you're able to stand and say, perfect health is the truth of my being. Wholeness is the truth of my being. People say, Christian, how can you say that? Don't tell me what you're thinking. You got to deal with these facts that are out there. No, we've got to come from that spiritual place, because when we are calm, when we are clear, when we are at peace, that is when we can bring the best to the situations that we got to accept. There's stuff going on in the world. It's a pandemic. There's protests going on. There is racist expression that's taking place on our planet. It's nothing new. We just watched a movie this week that's being put out free on Amazon and Netflix. It was supposed to open up in the movie theaters with Jamie Foxx, and it's called Just Mercy. And it's about Brian Stevens, a lawyer who graduated from Harvard, an African-American, who in the 80s went down to Alabama to help change these verdicts, death sentence verdicts of individuals where there was no evidence against these African-Americans, but because of where they were in Alabama, because of the racism, they were not only assumed guilty, they would put false evidence and put on death row. And this story is a stunning sense of our history of what was going on then and is raising its head now. Colin Kaepernick, of quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, for 6 years he was there. Took him to the Super Bowl. But he's not remembered for that. He's the one who is remembered for kneeling during the national anthem. And they say, how can this guy disrespect our flag? How can he disrespect our national anthem? And this whole uproar about it, but that is not at all what he was attempting to do. He was attempting to peacefully bring awareness to the injustice of police brutality and the racial inequities that were going on, the racial inequalities that were taking place and the police brutality, and is saying this is not acceptable and this is a way I can bring awareness to it. And what happened is it was taken way off the point of the message and say, oh, how can you do this and how can you do that? It's not what he was up to. It's like saying when people say Black Lives Matter, and then people say, but all lives matter. Of course all lives matter, but you're missing the message here, is that we got the African Americans who are being unjustly incarcerated. And we've had racism for 400 years saying, hey guys, I need some help. Take a look here. And then we come up with these other cliches. No, we need to pause and say there is a message that needs to be heard. And we've got to be bold enough and brave enough to step into it and recognize as our Declaration of Independence that all men were created equal. And we have these inalienable rights. Actually, we could change it now to all people, because all men, that's only like half of it. But we'll save that conversation for another day. But you get that what we have to do is be at peace inside and recognize that it's time for things to change, for a new table. And that just because things are boiling up doesn't mean it can't be frozen again. A mother in the midst of the pain of birth, has the dream of new life. I was there for Trevor's birth. I witnessed that. I cut his umbilical cord, but I got to tell you, I don't have this right to say, but I don't know how anything so big could come through anything so small. It's like, but there is a vision of a new life. And the dream that is for us is so grand. God's vision of what is possible can come through this time right here. But we've got to believe, we've got to know, we've got to trust that it is possible. And that even when it looks least possible, like the water's boiling, St. Francis' a prayer is, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there is fear or doubt, faith. Where there's darkness, light. Where there's sadness, joy. And how can we do that if we are caught up in the pain of the particular? Michael Singer says you got to go beyond that. The section we're working from, he says the way to go beyond that is, one's awareness is amazing because it can focus in on anything. I can think about the very tip of my finger and become my fingertip and nothing else. Or I can become my whole hand. Or I can bring my awareness to my whole body. I can bring my awareness to this body standing here on the stage at Seaside or touching all your hearts and souls as we begin to practice how we can move beyond where we are. Or we can bring it to this earth. This earth that's sitting 93 million miles away from the sun, basically hanging out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we can expand. When you think big, when you allow your mind to go into the infinite, the littleness is gone. My fingertip got left back in Encinitas. I'm thinking of the infinite as we allow our field of awareness to be caught up in the expansiveness. In the infinite, there isn't space for the littleness and the hatred. What we want to do with our inner work, to move beyond the fence. Beyond is moving beyond where you are. Come to the end of the road and there's the fence and there's the wall and it stops, boom, that's it. And then there's something beyond that. What's beyond it? I don't know. But I know that I will know what I need to do. I can be available for that. I got to move beyond. But what happens is, here's the fence. This is what I know. This is my protection. I'm going to do that. Michael Singer, in one of these chapters this week, talks about building a house in a big open field away from everyone and everything. His dream project lays this foundation that's solid and builds this enormous house with solid block and rocks, and enjoys the openness. Builds a huge quarters for some quiet or solitude acquaintance to help take care of the house and things inside and the food. A few windows and special lighting, and starts enjoying the outside a bit, and then comes back inside and likes the protection of the inside, and the light was getting strong, so put in some window shades that are just solid metal fortress, and now you're inside and all protected, and begins to romanticize of reading and writing, and it starts doing then, goes outside less and less and becomes more concerned, the elements outside. And so it just stays inside, and it becomes a fortress in there. He's got the lighting that's going on, but it's special lighting, so it's day or night, and then all of a sudden the light bulbs, special ones, begin to no longer function. They go out little by little, and before long he's in the darkness inside the fortress, all alone, trying to find a candle for a little bit of light, can no longer read, can no longer write, and the person who helps take care of the place says, hey, I found some flashlights. And so he just goes down, and they turn on the flashlights, and they start to light up the place again. And he starts to see the joy in the friend. The friend sees the joys, and there's a relationship, and there's love, and there's now light coming from their heart and their soul, and they stage a marriage, and with the light able to read again, and in the reading it tells about the outside, and the outside has light, and all of a sudden they find maybe the courage and the strength together to go out into the light, and it unfolds like that. But that is kind of the story of what we go through, is that we build these fortresses. That's our thoughts, that's our emotions, that's our past memories and history, and we build ourselves behind this wall and this board. If you want to go on, you got to go beyond. You can't stop. And so you can't stop with the pain. You can't stop with what's going on out there. There's some things you may have to accept that's taken place, but you know what? I'm going to bring a new story. I'm going to sit at a new table with a new possibility. I'm going to go beyond and bring what I have to bring. Whether it is to pray, whether it is to meditate, whether it is to write, whether it is to text or tweet or to the Instagram or to march, or I'm going to do what it is mine to do, but I'm going to come, as Martin Luther King says, from the weapon of love. That is the only weapon that I have, and I will know what it is I need to do, be able to work with the shifts that are going on. The winds have changed. Some are going to build walls. Others are going to build windmills. Some will use it to get behind the walls for protection. Others will open up to the possibility. It all comes from what's going on inside of you. And what I know is that life continues to rise to meet whatever challenge we have. Ernest Holmes, he's the founder of our philosophy, and he writes on possibilities. He says, this is exactly the position that modern philosophers take. It's called the theory of the emergent evolution, which means that when nature needs something, it demands it of itself, and out of itself, it makes it. So, in the evolution of the human being, when it's necessary for them to grasp, fingers were produced. When then, if it is necessary for you or me to know something we do not know, can we not, according to this theory of emergence, demand the information of ourselves and have it come to be known? We believe that when the human mind individually and collectively needs a new truth, out of the necessity of the desire comes the truth it needs. Everything we know in philosophy and science proves it. Out of the desire of a greater good comes ways and means for creating the greater good. And if every person made a demand upon the intelligence for a solution to the present world problems through the minds of those people who are national leaders, would come an adequate and happy solution. You have enough faith, enough peace to know in the midst of what's going on in our country now, the double pandemic, as we were told, that there's something emerging. What I know thus far is that the human species has always risen to what's going on. People say, well, what about all the garbage? Changing subjects again and go deep. You know what? We got to not think in the same way to deal with that. What about the racism that is going on? You know what? Maybe it looks like moving some funding around to deal with situations rather than with force, but with understanding. Understanding's a key. That's what's happening. There is a voice that is rising that says, hear me, understand me. Well, Christian, I'm not a racist. I don't have any problems. You're missing the point. People are hurting. They're asking to be heard. Well, I'm good with it. Don't you get that's white privilege? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I can walk the streets without fear of going out jogging and fear for my life that I might be taken down by a law enforcement. Part of this time is to understand. I can remember the heat I took during 9/11 when we lost the World Trade Centers, and I stood up and said, maybe rather than retaliating, what we need to do is ask, what is it that I need to understand that you would hate me so much? If all of a sudden our responses were not with force, but a new table, a new way, that in the midst of the boiling uprising, that to remember that freezing is possible, that in the midst of pain and pandemic, wholeness already is so. That is how you go beyond what is taking place in the world, is by not allowing your inside, your inner space to be disturbed by what's going on. Ram Dass shared this analogy of standing on a bridge and watching the river go by, and occasionally the spray comes and gets your face and it affects you. And then, but you're up here watching. This is Michael Singer's whole thing. It is about being the observer, the watcher, the witness to what is going on. You don't allow it to your inner kingdom. We have heard from people who have been incarcerated, in concentration camps, prisoners of war, that you can take everything away from my world, and there are some things I just have to accept, but the last thing that you can take from me is that inner space, is that kingdom. And I'm not talking about the thoughts, because the thoughts, the fears, the emotions are your fortress, is your mental model. It's what you're using to defend yourself. You got to let that go, because you struggle to hold that together. You've got to be willing to let go, defending. And if you're willing to let go of defending, then you're able to be in that place of observing. But the mental models is what pulls us in to the fight. We're clinging on to something. The Buddhists say that if you, I've got it written down here in Michael Singer's book. Actually, he has a whole thing on this. But he says that rather than seeking the truth, you just simply let go of your view. Rather than seeking the truth, you just let go of your view. That which you're defending, that which you're fighting. He writes that in truth, the very responsibility of having to hold it all together is itself a form of suffering. You notice this most when things start to fall apart outside. Your psyche goes into turmoil, and you have to struggle to hold your inner world together. But what exactly are you trying to hold on to? Well, the only thing in there are your thoughts, are your emotions, are your motivations of energy, none of which are solid. They're like clouds that simply are coming and going through vast inner space. But you keep holding on to them as though consistency can substitute for stability. The Buddhists have a term for this. Clinging. And in the end, clinging is what the psyche is all about. In order to understand clinging, we must first understand who clings. As you go deeper into yourself, you will naturally come to realize that there is an aspect of your being that is always there and never changes. This is your sense of awareness, your consciousness. It is the awareness that is aware of your thoughts. It experiences the ebb and flow of your emotions. It receives your physical senses. This is the root of the self. You are not your thoughts. You are aware of your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You feel your emotions. You are not your body. You look at your body in the mirror and experience this world through its eyes and its ears. You are the consciousness being who is aware that you are aware of all these inner and outer things. You are the watcher who watches your thoughts. You are the observer who sees what's going on. And so Singer is real big at promoting not giving the power away to the outside. You are the one who has total accountability for what's happening inside of you. And when you get sucked into the smallness, the minutia, the myopic view, the way you go beyond that is step back and expand your perception and perspective of infinity. You allow it to get bigger and grander. Allow this to fill your space, to bring you a sense of peace, that this globe sitting out in the middle of nowhere in the blackness of the universe knows what it needs to do. It is continued on, and a pandemic it's the Creator's. It's not yours. It's what you do inside that is going to allow yourself to heal in this world, because a healthy inside is so much better for your immune system. It is so much better for your well-being. It allows you to be more presently aware. And so as your mind goes into hyperactivity, you step back, you watch, and you observe. And with what is going on, it is your spiritual practice. Pandemic, racism, doctor's prognosis, scarcity in your world. It's your choice whether you're going to let it in there and disturb your peace. You get to decide from a clear place how you're going to play in what's taking place in this world, whereas the river is going by, but never losing the vision that your only weapon, as Martin Luther King tells us, let it be love, and let no one pull you so low that you hate them. You are the one who gets to decide whether I'm going to come from peace and march or whether I'm going to protest angrily. But there's a message that is seeking to be heard. It's up to us to say, what is it that I need to know here? What is it that I need to understand here? I am the place where spirit touches down into infinity. Don't let it get caught up in the minutia, in the latest news cycle, and what is going on. The healing comes when we heal our sense of separation and recognize that we're all on this planet together, and that new table there is equality. There is a freedom of racism. There is a sense of honoring all cultures and all people. We don't try to make same. We embrace the diversity and the fullness of life. We are in a country where we want our leaders uniting us, not dividing us. And it comes from the people. It comes from you. And you'll know it as your truth when you spend time going deeper within to feel the love that created you. A trust and a peace that passes any understanding. When Jesus came out Jesus has just done an all-day seminar, got on the boat, I guess it was the Sea of Galilee. He went out, went to bed, and the seas and squalls, the boat got cast around. It was wild and crazy, and the people came in and said, Jesus, wake up, do something. We're gonna sink. He came out, kind of looked around, peace, be still, and went back to bed. It's like, well, you guys have no faith? What's going on? It was, that fear, that anxiety did not disturb his inside. He knew peace. In the middle of a squall when people feared the boat was going down. That's what we get to bring to this world. We were born for a time such as this, and it needs the new thought. It needs the new perspective, because we're going to move through this news cycle, and we're just going to be thrown into the hysteria of another news cycle. What we need is a unity. What we have is a rising voice that talks about equality for all people, justice for all people. We have these inalienable rights for all people. There is no question to that. And so when we see injustice, it becomes blatant. And in the collective consciousness, there is a loud voice that wants to be heard. It's saying, all people, we're one and diverse. One family, one planet. And when you take this time to do your inner work and do the best you can with your highest intentions. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. I can't even get out the right words sometimes. But I don't let it stop me, because I know my intentions come from the highest place. my thing is to remind us of that high place that is within us all. And so, no, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm giving you the spoiler alert. This is going to be over also. And when it's done, you'll be left asking yourself, what did I learn? How did I grow? What did I contribute? God bless us. We're in this together. I love you. Whitney, you have another one.
You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Yeah, yeah, yeah. People get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key. Open the doors and part them, 'cause there's room for all among the loved and lost. Yeah, yeah. Now there ain't no room for the hopeless sinner whose heart on the kind just to save his own. Have pity on those whose chances are thinner, 'cause there's no hiding place on the kingdom's throne. Oh, people, get ready. There's a train a-coming, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key. Open the doors and board them. There's room for all among the loved and lost. I'm getting ready. Yes, I'm getting ready. Getting ready. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Yeah, yeah.
Woo, that is Whitney. April's Billboard charts #1 album of the year. Singing here today on the Seaside stage. So cool. How fun. All right. Well, hey, this is the time of our service where we have the opportunity to share our love and to give our gift. And together, collectively, we have come together in the financial support of this community to successfully thus far move this through this interesting time where we're not congregating and physically, but yet we are gathering within our hearts, our souls, our consciousness, and online, on Facebook, on YouTube, on our 500 to 1,000 people every week on our Seaside website. And together our contributions at this moment that we pause make a difference. And so there's many different ways in which we can give, and you'll see that in the moment. But I want you to listen to your heart and your soul and just feel what it is you would like to give to support your community at this time, your family. Because I'll tell you what, there's talk about opening up again soon, sometime this summer, I'm not sure. And we are going to have doors to open and a patio to stand on because of your support. And my heart is filled with that. And so it is with joy I just say thank you for your generosity thus far in supporting Spirit's work that shows up in your life at Seaside, that shows up in your living room, that shows up on your phone, that shows up all over. And together we are making this offering to the planet. That's how significant your support is. So as you give, it comes back. It's not why you do it, but that's how it works. It is the law of circulation. It is the consciousness. It is the activity that Spirit is having. It is allowing your inside to come out. So I'll share this prayer of gratitude, and then we'll share our affirmation of abundance, and it's with a sense of gratitude for the most generous of spiritual communities that this moment is richly blessed. For truly the grace of God is moving through each and every one of us at this time. At this time in our life that we are finding that we have this inner space, this inner kingdom that isn't being disturbed by what is going on in this world. That there's actually an observer of the fears, the anxieties, the concerns that naturally come to the human experience. But those are the human experience, the physical facts. There is this spiritual part. It is the sky, if you would, that watches the clouds move in. The truth of our being, we come to recognize from our deep work, is unaffected. There's something richer and greater and grander than anything that can be generated in this world. And my spiritual understanding allows me to bring love and peace and calm to the world at this time. And I'm grateful to have a community that reminds me when I become disturbed. And so in this time, I share from an expanding heart. I share from the richness and the abundance that comes from within, that part that has never been violated. That is the abundance of the divine itself, that it has expression into supporting a light that is shining brighter in this world, that reminding us and all of the good times and the light and the joy of the fresh breath of Spirit. So with joy I give to support Spirit's work, and what happens is I experience the joy of its flowing back, expressing its abundant life as our good. So I say thank you, Father and Mother God, for this opportunity to be able to participate at the desire of the heart. And I send this forth, I press that button, I write that check, I contribute into this collective expression that supports Spirit's work at Seaside, and find a richness touching every aspect of my being. And so it is. Amen. And together, let us say our affirmation of abundance, which is, Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully I live as the giving expression of Spirit, opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. And thank you to those auto-tithers. Great support just keeps coming in. Hey, all right, nice job. So, I love Debbie's idea. Reverend Debbie said, hey, send us like these 60-second, 90-second video clips. Send it to scstaff@seasidecenter.org. And so instead of reading your letters, we can show your faces. Tom and Norma, I don't know if I told you that one, but that's our newest idea, is actually share the faces in these 60-second clips and say, Seaside has made a difference to me at this time in my life, or Seaside has brought a sense of well-being. Seaside has helped helped me stay connected. Seaside has offered these sacred circles and has changed this time to a positive, or whatever it may be. This is what I'm getting in writing, but if you could give it to us in your face, we might even put some of them up there. That might be a lot of fun. Also, don't forget Wednesday nights, Reverend Debbie's doing the midweek healing ritual, where there is people are asking questions, there's dialogue, there's meditation, there's prayer requests being taken. So that's happening. And also at the end of the service, if you want a prayer, call in on a spiritual practitioner. We have the Zoom room, so you can have private prayer with a private practitioner. As soon as we are done here, you just go to our website and hit that Zoom link and come on in. Or if you've got it down already, just put in, it's Ernest is the one we put in there. So a lot of goods going on at Seaside, good conversations. We're making a difference in this world. And I'm going to pray right now. And so I invite you to open your heart and your soul and your spirit and just feel the power of that love and that presence, that life force, that all animating energy, the very essence and life of each and every one, is that from which we are all created. All expressions of life come from this divine essence that moves through all things. It is infinite. And so I come to recognize that as the truth of who I am. I am one from this. I am this. Spirit's infinite resources expresses as this. And so I move into this time with this expanded awareness, recognizing it is the expanded awareness that is not caught up in the myopic concerns that are real, that are factual, that are of the human dynamic. But I choose to allow myself to be like on that bridge, watching the river go by and holding the higher perspective that it all does work out. Spoiler alert, that it's all going to be okay, because it is okay now. It's not a matter of becoming that. It is the truth of being that now. The wholeness, the peace, the well-being is now. Now is the appointed time to bring forth that for which we've been called. It's for a time like this that I'm able to bring the new thought, the new perspective, the higher perspective, the infinite perspective. And recognize that what is taking place in this world with the fear of pandemics and viruses, that we were told to be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. No wonder things have exploded in such a way. That fear could only be stuffed and kept at home for so long. And so this explosion of protests and marches and riots, it's something that wants to be heard. It is a voice that wants to be understood. Brave, courageous individuals on both sides of the equation, all wanting love to prevail, justice to prevail, truth to prevail. Honor those that have lost their lives, who have been hurt, the families that have been impacted. But I know there's a train coming. There's a shift taking place. There's a new table that is being set. Been caught in the fortress of a dark house and stepping out into the light, in the Garden of Eden once again. That the boiling water can also be gold. That where there's darkness, I bring light. Where there's hatred, I bring love. Where there's doubt, I bring faith. Where I bring injustice, I bring pardon. I am willing to listen to that which is within that is greater than that which is without. I am no longer attempting to tell God how to do something, but I become more available for using this moment as a God moment to go deeper into my soul and myself and discover that truth of my being that has never been impacted by what is going on. And I am willing to step into the tenuous situations of racism and inequality, racial inequality. I'm willing to step into the tenuous situations of panics and viruses because I have spent time within and not have allowed what is going on out there to disturb that. And I choose to practice the only weapon that we have been given, and that is love. And others may say it's crazy, but I'm willing to follow what love calls me to do. If it's to speak out, I come from a loving place. If it is to march, I come from a loving place. If it is to sit quiet at home in the safety and meditate and know Spirit prevails, I do that from a sense of peace. I continue to follow this inner place that allows my deeper self to have freedom of expression. I come from this good place, bringing my best to the world because the world deserves our best now. Not when this is over and I can get centered. I choose to use this moment for my centering practice. I go delve deeper in and deeper in. And I bring forth the Spirit. And healing happens. Tension dissolves. Anxiety subsides. Equality expresses. Refunding appropriate places to handle what is going on rather than through force, but through compassion, understanding, kindness, and caring. There is a new table, a new conversation, a new way of being with our brothers and sisters that have all come from the one Creator. We've been all created equal with inalienable rights. We stand and rejoice in this truth that is prevailing, that has risen to the top at this time and has finally said enough is enough. That false way of being is not so. And what looks like division is truly uniting. I choose to believe. Boiling water can freeze. Sickness can turn around. Behold, lack, limitation can abundantly flow. Because God is infinite, and I remove myself from the smallness to the infinite. And as I expand with the awareness of the light and the presence of God, that which was little and small is gone. Grateful that this is the truth happening, that every prayer request that has been brought forth to our community, I know is now being answered. For Sonny, whose niece is struggling with his asthma, looking to go to Stanford to be able to get her breathing back in order, that her niece is able to breathe that breath of life, that the constrictions of this time do not impact her body any longer. For beloved Herb Danzer, who is working with his spirit and his body at this time, that is able to listen to that spiritual aspect of his being that he led so many tens of thousands of people in his lifetime to hearing with greater clarity. For Alexis Ogilvy's father, Mike, the concern of lymphoma, going back for another biopsy. There's going to be an amazing turnaround with this next biopsy, saying it's perfect, this whole is complete, and all the anxiety and the concern dissolves into the nothingness from which it came. For the presence of God moves so perfectly in all of our lives right now. And so what I know is perfect wholeness, perfect healing. For every prayer request people have reached out with, it is answered. And this I'm able to let go to Spirit. It's not mine to do, it's just mine to know as God knows, the wholeness, the perfection, the divine right action, the perfect unfoldment. I'm grateful that this is happening here and now. So I let go, and I trust, and I believe. So it is. Amen.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let go. Yeah. what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. When my heart is open wide, yes, I'm only here for God. So no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. So I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. So no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Wherever you are, Seaside, sing it with us. And I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. Come on. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. So no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yeah.
Woo! All right. That is beautiful. Hey, and before affirmation, I just want to remind everyone to check out Rebecca's new video. You know, everything's going to be all right. You can, Callie posted it on our Facebook, so you can see it there. They could go to your website, but it's a fabulous song. Big ensemble. Yeah, like 14 people on the stage and a whole sound tech in there. And
That's right.
so, good.
Like a presentation.
That's right. No, that's good. That's good. All right. Hey, our affirmation is, I am free to live my soul's purpose. Let's say that together. I am free to live my soul's purpose. Touch your heart and say it again. I am free to live our soul's purpose. One more time, like it's your truth. I am free to live my soul's purpose. Love you guys.